Man, guys, I can't even do my intro. Can't even really do my intro for this. I didn't really expect that this was gonna happen, guys. Like, I kind of like, okay, well, I kind of did like a little bit, but I didn't think it was gonna happen this soon. I really didn't think this was gonna happen, to be honest. Yeah, guys, the game is EOSing. Tribe 9 is EOSing, sadly. Unfortunately, the game will no longer be here with us once it November 27th of this year has passed. Maybe November 24th, or I mean 26th for if you're like non-Japan. But yeah, I mean, it just really sucks, man. You know, like, this game had like a lot of potential, really good story, really good music, really good voice acting, really good characters. Combat was pretty good, not like crazy, but it was still pretty good. I liked it. A lot of great systems in here, but sadly, if you guys didn't know, there was a really bad revenue month. It wasn't really bad, but it was still pretty bad for the most part. They were in the red, where I think they only made like 90k for like last month or whatever. They didn't make that much money, and they decided to pull the plug. They decided that the game will be EOS. So we'll take a quick look at this, but I'm sure many of you guys already read this by now or already know, because it's been like the main highlight of the day, sadly, and not a good highlight. But yeah, basically, the game will be EOS. Since the game's launch, the development and the operations team have strived to provide excellent service and improve players' experience. However, after careful consideration, they decided to EOS the game, and they are also not planning to release Chapter 4. They're also not planning to release the upcoming characters, the last two siblings of the Akiba siblings. They're planning to basically nothing will be coming out, no bug fixes, nothing else, nothing will be worked on for the rest of the game until the game's basically, you know, gone in November. Of course, they also mentioned summons here as well. Due to this change, the consumption of paid igniums used to unlock the battle pass, as well as to purchase levels for the battle pass, where the character, one of the siblings skins can be acquired, will be refunded. So if you bought the battle pass, basically you spent money in the battle pass, that will be refunded to you. And then that's basically it. I don't know if you can buy anything in the shop currently, but you know, there's no point, right? You're literally just throwing money away, like, actually. Like, there's nothing you can get back from this. And they said, oh yeah, this says there's no more, you can no longer buy stuff in the game anymore anyways. Yeah, so there's a couple things with this too, and nobody will really know why the game EOS, to be honest. We have a lot of we can have a lot of speculation as to why the game EOS, but we won't really know. What I think may have been some of the reasons why this potentially happened could be because of the fact that the higher-ups at Akatsuki Games decided that one bad revenue month was just not worth it, and then they just said, we're done. You know, we didn't make that much money, we were in the red, we're done. I will also say it does kind of suck in my opinion, and I think it's not really maybe not a good idea, but it's like two ways to this, right? On one side, it makes sense why they're not going to release Chapter 4, why they're not going to release at least the last two siblings, or at the very least Inosuke, who's like already playable in the game. Like, it kind of makes sense, like, why that stuff, like, a little bit, like, why that's not gonna be, you know, added to the game at the very least before EOS. But at the same time, there's been other games I played, at least from the top of my head, from what I kind of remember from the games that have EOS in the past, where they have literally said, we are EOSing, but we will be releasing the last bit of content that we kind of like almost like wrapped up. Or like, was it with Alchemy Stars? There was a character, like a skin they were planning to release, but then they're like, we're EOSing, guys. Here's just like what the designs of like what we think we were gonna do for the character, like for the skin or whatever. So like, I kind of feel like it just seems a little bit shady to me, like where they're like completely like hands off, like, we're done with this game, turn back, you know, we're walking out the door, like getting milk, never come back, right? You know, where it's like, we're not getting anything else from this basically at this point. We're not gonna at least get the character, because the character's basically already done, right? We're not gonna get anything else, and I just think it's kind of like crappy in my opinion, where they're like sending it off, but like not giving like a little bit of like grace, a little bit of like touch, to where it's like, all right, here's just the last bit that we had worked on, you know. But like, cause that's why I said, like, at the same time it makes sense, like, you know, why would you spend more money in a game that's gonna like make no more money anymore, that you're not gonna work on anymore? So in that regard, I do understand that, but I don't know, it just seems a little bit iffy to me. There's something I did want to show you guys real quick though. All right, so this is what I want to show you guys. So this is a Gachagames. I actually wanted to do a little bit of research in them because I wasn't sure, like, was this their first gacha game, and was this the first game they've ever worked on, or have they made anything else, right? And as far as I'm aware of, this seems to be their first game and their first gacha game, because this is their page, Gachagames, right? They're the ones, real quick. So if you go to Steam right now, basically, you can see that the game is developed by Gachagames and it is published by Gachagames. So there's no other third party, as far as I'm aware of, that is mentioned, at least on the Steam page, that, like, you know, has worked on the game or like has significant pull for the game, right? And so, like, what this kind of made me feel like is the fact that, like, this is, yeah, so this is their first gacha game, and this is the first game they have ever published and like made, basically, right? And there's another thing too, really quick, now that I thought about it. So this here, guys, this is the actual Dongan creator. This is the guy who's like basically made all the Gachagames, right? So this is what this guy had to say. So my involvement with the game version was limited to providing the world building, and that was basically it. And then he's sorry that we couldn't live up to everyone's expectations. However, he thinks the staff did a pretty good job, and I think the staff did a really good job. The people that actually made the game, I think they did a really good job. They tried their best. They tried to recuperate with the mess up of the launch. They try to do their best, right? And I think this is just an issue of the higher ups deciding that, or whoever was the higher ups controlling the decision, who made this decision to EOS the game, or maybe it was a group of people. They just decided to give up after 1 month. And there's other Gachagames that literally have way shittier revenue that are still alive to this day. And so I think this is literally just a case of them being fresh, this being their first gacha game, their first game, and the publisher or whoever, or a group of people deciding at the top, you know what, you know, we're good, right? 1 month bad, that's enough, right? Where other gacha game publishers and all that are like, you know what, it's fine, you know, we'll keep it going, you know, maybe we'll have an improvement, right? Like I forgot what game it was, but there's like a gacha game. Heck, there's even multiple, right? Where specifically in the China ones, right? China-based gacha games, where they have maybe a couple, like 1-2 bad months, but then they kind of recuperate and, like, heck, even go like further beyond the first month or two and recuperate that money. So it just kind of sucks to see, you know. And this kind of goes back to like low-key and overarching thing of Japanese gacha game companies. I don't know about it, like, I don't really think this is like a Japanese game company issue, but it might be. But this is more specifically speaking more on Japanese game companies. This seems to be more of like that kind of issue, where the way they kind of have things done, you know, basically what I'm trying to say is that Chinese gacha games have been doing kind of like way better recently, or basically any other gacha game company that's like not based in Japan, which is kind of sucky because, you know, that was kind of the genesis of where like this all came from. But they kind of been slacking like a little bit. Heck, even with some of the things too. Like I remember there's like some other things a little bit off topic, but there's like some like I forgot who it was, but someone mentioned there was like China kind of starting to compete a bit more in like the anime market, and like kind of Japan's kind of starting to slack a little bit there. But anyways, going back to the main important thing about Tribe 9 here, yeah, it just seems like whoever with the higher up was, they just decided that, you know, they were done with the game. They don't want to risk any more money into this game, and they just decided to just like let it flop basically and not let it exist anymore, which really sucks because this game had a lot of potential. It's really good, like I said, really good story, really good characters, really good everything. But of course, one of the bigger issues with it was that there wasn't really a good end game, and there wasn't really like enough stuff to be like monetized, right? Like they started to do stuff to like the daily shop where you could buy skins. Like you could actually spend money and buy specific skins. Like that was a good step in the right direction. But sadly, I just think that the higher ups just kind of pulled the cord a little too early, because they just didn't want to have a risk of losing even more money, especially since this was the first game. Which I think is a little funny too, because the fact that this is the first game and the first gacha game, being such a good game compared to the other ones they have coming up here, which is going to be Kaiju number 8 and then this Hike one, you can clearly see there's a big fucking difference between the two, or between the three here, as to which one, and I think there might be maybe a fourth one here as well, of like which one has way better fucking quality, right? Like clearly Tribe 9 has so much more quality and like style compared to these other ones, where like Kaiju number 8, and we take a look at it, it looks all right. I'll probably check, I think I might check it out, but like if we look at the actual gameplay for it, it just doesn't really seem like that like crazy to me. Like it just looks like a very like generic, simple, like normal gacha game, right? Like it doesn't look too bad, but it just feels more of like just those like general like gacha games, in my opinion, where there isn't anything too crazy about it. Like I said, yeah, so this is like the gameplay seemingly, right? Where it's like a turn-based kind of gameplay, and it's just like, you know, comparing this shit to like fucking Tribe 9 is like a night and day difference, in my opinion, you know? Where it's like, yeah, some things do look cool, like yeah, like I do agree, some of this stuff looks cool, but like clearly there's like a big fucking difference between the two, where like Tribe 9 just has way more like, you know, quality to it, in my opinion. But yeah, this is probably just the issue with the higher ups. I definitely think if they gave them like, if the Tribe 9 had like a what is it, maybe like another couple more months, they maybe could have recuperated some things. But I think another issue was the fact, like I just mentioned, this is their first gacha game. There was a lot of things that they were learning, and so I think because of that, they kind of didn't really know how they really wanted to handle it. Also, another big thing was marketing. There was fucking no marketing for this game, basically, other than it being, I think, like advertised at like Summer Game Fest or whatever, like one time. That was it. They didn't do that. I mean, like, you know how Genshin, Arknights, they usually do like ads every couple months or whatever. It's like they kind of spam it a little bit. There was like nothing for this for Tribe 9. There was no like, oh, here's a bunch of ads or whatever. I think they did have some stuff like posters or whatever, like in Japan, like a little bit for like one time, but they weren't consistent on the marketing. And I think that was another big issue with the game. You know what would have been pretty good, would have been a smart idea, was when they, guys, I don't know if you guys know this, I don't know if you guys know this, they did a refund. Basically, like however much you spend, they will give you that amount back, even for free-to-play players. So if you do any free-to-play summons, you could get the same amount of currency back. What they should have done was they should have fucking advertised the hell out of that. They should have thrown so many advertisements everywhere saying that, hey, play Tribe 9 now, you will get double the currency than other gacha games, or something like that, right? You know, something like kind of saying like, hey, if you play the game now and you do a bunch of pulls, you're gonna get those pulls back, basically, so you get 2 extra pulls, basically, right? If they did something like that, I think they would have like had way more people drop in, because it was like, oh wait, you know, because I imagine, right, people will be like, hey, the game looks kind of cool, and if I spend a little bit of money, or if I use the free play currency, I get that back anyways, right? And I get to keep whatever I pulled for. So I think that if they did more marketing right there, that one might have been a good spot for them to actually recoup a lot of the players and maybe get a lot more players, and maybe not have gone into the situation where the game sadly got EOS. That was another issue too. But yeah, it just really sucks, man. This game will have so much potential. I really hope that we either get the story, or maybe they're able to maybe like rework the game to actually being like just a full flat out single player game. Just to be honest, this game clearly is way better as like a single player game. It did kind of work as a gacha game, but clearly this was more focused towards like being like an actual game you would buy one time, and that would be it, in my opinion. But yeah, it like I said, just really sucks. Really disappointing, like I said. And there could be so many like different things that it could be, but like potentially what it could be is probably just the higher ups, and then of course not that much marketing, and a whole bunch of other things as well. But like there's some things that kind of make sense, right? Like the bad launch, barely any marketing, and then not really good end game combat, or like end game stuff to do, not really that much stuff to buy in the game compared to like other gacha games and stuff like that. So, and another thing too was that there wasn't really, you know how gacha games, there's usually like pretty good amount of like events and stuff that usually happen like every week or something, like JJK, if you guys see me for that, or any other gacha games, right? There's usually some kind of event every week. Tribe 9 didn't have that. Tribe 9 had like an event that literally lasted for like 2 fucking months, basically, and that was the one event, basically. And they did start slowly, like this month, they did start slowly adding like a couple extra events into like the week or whatever, or into the months. But they clearly, you know, since the first one, they kind of they're like fresh, they're like fresh, like newborn baby, right? They're like fresh into this. They don't really know how to really handle gacha, at least from my understanding, from what I've seen so far from them. This is just kind of them getting their feet wet and learning new things as they go on. Sadly though, they couldn't keep the fucking, you know, game going while they're still learning and improving the game, which sucks, because this is clearly the best one in my opinion. Wakaji number 8 doesn't look too bad, but clearly it just looks like your generic gacha game that's kind of like whatever. So it might be good, might not be bad. I will say though, I don't really want to say this because this sounds a little bit messed up, but I think it is worth saying, and I think it's probably important to you guys and fair to you guys to know. From here on out, I would honestly say be a little bit careful from Akatsuki Games, because, you know, they gave up after like a couple months and like just one bad month of revenue, and they kind of gave up from the higher up. So I just say be a little bit careful with how much money you do spend on any future gacha games from this company here. I really don't want to say this because I feel like it's kind of a little shady, but like I don't know, I just feel like me like a little bit shady about that, because it's just kind of like saying that like doom posting, right? It just feels like doom posting, and I don't really want to like doom post it in something like this. But like I do want to say, like, you know, if they what they did with Tribe 9, specifically like pulling the plug part, even if the game looks good, I just say be maybe a little bit more careful, or just be a little careful, not more careful. I'm saying like it's like a fucking this is the second time or something, right? But no, just saying basically for the Tribe for the Kaiju number 8 game, or this other game here, Hike, or whatever the other one they're thinking about, I just say be a little bit careful with how much money you spend. Now, it's not like a Crunchyroll situation where, I don't know if you guys know from another Crunchyroll, but there's been a couple Gachagames from Crunchyroll where they released, or they just pull the plug after like a year or a couple of years or something, or a couple months, because fuck it, we don't care. As far as I understand it, like I think it was like Princess Connect, that was like one of the big ones from Crunchyroll, and they just kind of pulled the plug for whatever reason. So that one, this isn't like a Crunchyroll situation. This is just more of like they just didn't make enough money, so then the higher ups just decided that fuck it, we're not gonna spend any more money on this shit. So, but yeah, regardless, at the very least, just be careful if you guys are interested in the Kaiju number 8 game, like I am a little bit. You know, just be careful with how much money you spend basically in these games, because you never know how it might go, and that goes for any gacha game, right? Just be careful, right? Now there's other ones like the Hoyu games or Kuro games where those are probably fine. Those probably won't like EOS for like forever, but you know, with some of the other ones you got to be a little bit careful. But yeah, I think that pretty much just covers it. As far as like I just wanted to talk about this, it's just really disappointing because like I said, the game was really good. So many good things about this. Is just like the fact that this is like one of their newest gacha games. They're not news. This is the first gacha game they've ever like done and released and worked on. They clearly had like a lot of things they needed to learn before they did this, and clearly they made a lot of mistakes. So I'm hoping at the very least this company will improve. You know, will like actually like get a lot better, because like the game of Tribe 9 was really, really good. So I do have hope, though, at the very least, that future games from this company will at least be better, and they'll learn from these mistakes, actually do marketing, actually, you know, create proper things for the game, and kind of like realize what a gacha game needs. And then I wouldn't even mind if they did like a shift up situation, like what they did with Stellar Blade and Nikkei, where they just say, you know what, Tribe 9 will be repurposed as like as a single player one-time purchase game for like $60. I would be completely fine with that. I think the game totally is worth it for something like that, because the story is really good, and I would really hate for the story to not come out. But if you guys do like the story stuff or whatever, I would recommend this guy's the Dangan creators game, the 100 line. It does look really cool. I do really want to play it. I don't know when I'll get a chance to, because I still have a bit of a backlog that I have to get through. But I would recommend, if you guys are interested in something that's kind of like Tribe 9, and you kind of want like, man, I really want something like Tribe 9, check out the Danganronpa games. Those are pretty good. Or if you want a more recent game that's probably more like I guess kind of like Tribe 9 combat a little bit. I actually don't really know the 100 line combat much, but you know, I would maybe recommend checking out the 100 line that you know, that this guy made. Basically just search up the 100 line, it'll probably come up. So I would recommend that if you guys are interested in something kind of like Tribe 9 a little bit. But yeah, it just is what it is, guys. Yeah. Let's see. But yeah, so at this point though, what we're probably going to do here on the channel, I will probably be wrapping up chapter 3. We will be streaming the rest of this. We will be getting it out of the way, and then I think I will either at the end of that stream, when I finish the story of chapter 3, or on the day before it releases ish, we may just blast all our summons at that point and just say, you know, as a final farewell. I just kind of figure out what time I do this. So I don't know, maybe we'll do like half our pulls at the end of that, and then we'll save the last bit for the final day of before the world explodes on Tribe 9. Oh man, it sucks, guys. But I guess the one, I know this might sound a little fucked up, but the one upside to this is that this does mean that this is one less gacha game to worry about, and that does mean that has an extra free slot for any potentially future gacha games. So that is one nice, I guess, upside to this. is that now there's room for another game to fill that spot in. But yeah, it just sucks. This really sucks in my opinion. But with that being said though, guys, that pretty much wraps things up here. So I'll let you guys know for any other gacha games or whatever that comes out, you know, like the usual here, because I love my gacha games, you know, a bit of an act here, and of course any other games, you know. I will be trying to I think I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do my Wukong stuff for Black Myth Wukong, because we still need to get through that entire game. So I'm kind of debating on 2 different ideas of how I want to handle that for the rest of the upcoming months, because I do want to, I think I can start getting to that now very soon. I just have to figure out how I want to like go about doing that. And then of course we also have to do some other gacha games to catch up on. But enough about that. I'll talk about that later in my next upcoming stream, which should be either later tonight or tomorrow. I gotta kind of figure that one out. But anyways, I'm head on out. Big rip to Tribe 9. Such a good game. It just sucks, you know. I don't really hit, you know. It's just like, man, we had such a good game compared to all these other slop gacha games that are still around, and it's like, wow, it's just gone. It is what it is, guys. It is what it is. Anyways, hope you guys have a good day or good night. Hope your pulls go well, and I'm gonna see all of you guys later. Peace and take care, everybody.